Hi, I'm Bruce Coulthard from Genesis Soils. We're at Spring Mountain Vineyard in St. Helena. It's a beautiful May afternoon. Vines are starting to grow, and I'm with my friend Ron Rosenbrand. Thanks for joining us today.
Certainly.
I'd sort of wanted to go into your background a little bit, and I know you've been involved using mycorrhiza for some 15 years, and your interactions, your beliefs, your experience, a lot of your data that you've accumulated, not only for yourself, but for Genesis Soils and the industry as a whole. Some very groundbreaking information that we feel it really plays a big part in helping us with plant health, especially disease suppression in an industry that is plagued with so many diseases that somebody really has to take a step. So if you would sort of start off by telling me your earliest experiences with this and how you feel about this.
Approximately 18 years ago or so now, I was working at Charles Krug Winery and was looking for a better way to grow grapes and have healthier, stronger plants that thrived and produced better and were healthier overall. And I came across a mycorrhiza supplement in about, I'd say somewhere around 1990, 1992, and tried it for the first time using it in a new planting. And we left a couple of control rows to see a comparison, and I was amazed at how much stronger the plants were that were mycorrhiza inoculated as compared to the control rows. And so over time I kept using mycorrhiza and have always been a believer in it. Now about 8 years ago I met with Bruce and learned of a product that he was developing and was excited to try it because I know Bruce is a very thorough individual who does his research and works really hard at doing the best he can do, and so I had a lot of confidence in his ability to produce a product that was going to be superior to the things that I had used in the past. And so Bruce and I got together and we did some treatments here at Spring Mountain Vineyard, and boy, we have done a lot of work together over the past several years and have some pretty amazing results.
We have.
I believe we started with some treatments to determine our water usage, to determine how mycorrhiza was going to help affect the plant's ability to conserve water and use water. And through about 3 years of trials now, we have discovered that we are saving about 30% in water usage through the use of mycorrhiza that Genesis Soils has been producing, far superior to anything that I had used in the past.
Well, thank you. That's
yeah,
nice
it's great. It's exciting, especially when you're growing grapes in an area that is very susceptible to drought problems. We don't have a lot of water here, and conserving water is a critical thing for my operation.
Could you explain your data accumulation process with the pressure bomb, which is plant moisture stress indicator, which is a nitrogen container that you add nitrogen to it, and it presses a certain amount of pressure so you can see how much water is being used. Sort of go through that process. I think it is something like 800 or 900 readings in the same area over a period of time, and that you had realized some 30, 40, 50% reduction in stress levels.
Right. Well, Bruce kind of summed up what the pressure bomb does. It measures leaf water potential of a leaf and a grapevine. And so it gives us a reading that tells how stressed the plant is for water. And when we did the original experiment, we set up some trials where we left rows that were not inoculated with mycorrhiza, and then the rest of the vineyard block was. And so we compared those pressure bomb readings to one another and found on a consistent basis that our pressure bomb readings were considerably lower, meaning that there was more water available to the plant than in the control rows. So we were finding, like Bruce said, 30, 40, 50% water savings for the plants that were mycorrhiza inoculated.
Yeah, those, for years we've known these things happen in all different crops. And 4 or 5 years ago, Ron came to me and some other vineyardists and said, look, I believe in what you're saying. We know it's true in all of the crops. We know this has been proving itself for 460 million years, but you've got to show us specifically in grapevines, and specifically here in Napa Valley. So that's what we did. And Ron's results are showing that we're definitely showing a 30 to 50% reduction in stress levels pre-harvest. We're showing 30 to 40% reduction in water needs. And then the third part of this is nutrient efficiencies. We're able to use the nutrients that are available in the soil because we have millions of more roots that are in the soil pulling nutrients in, where before the non-mycorrhizal plants would not even be able to pull these nutrients up. So what would happen? They force feed them with high caustic fertilizers like nitrogen and phosphorus, and basically they'd be force feeding and burning any hyphal root systems, basically destroying the soil. So and this is what was interesting, is Ron took some petiole analysis, and if you could just sort of explain how those work and the results that you got from that.
We, for the first time last year, pulled petioles separate from the control rows to the mycorrhizal inoculated rows, and found that the plants were far more efficient at using the fertilizers that were the natural fertilizers that were present that we had applied. So our readings on our petiole analysis proved to be significantly better for the mycorrhizal treated rows.
The last part of this is we know about water efficiencies, we know about stress reductions, we know about nutrient efficiencies, and we know about general plant health. But I think what Genesis and what I have been working on for 35 years is we know all about that. And this is great to be able to implement this in the industry. But really where I think that the mycorrhizal and the soil biology and bacterial associates really do the best job possible is in the natural disease suppression. With mycorrhizal roots, with mycorrhizal plants, there's an antagonistic potential against disease, which is much higher than non-mycorrhizal or low mycorrhizal, which is like natural. A lot of people say, well, we have natural mycorrhizae. Well, then if you have natural mycorrhizae, then why in his control rows was he not seeing any significant differences? And this is our main beef, if you will, with the industry, is they keep saying, well, we have natural mycorrhizae, and we're getting all we can. Well, if that's the case, then why are they continually having constant disease issues? It's costing the industry billions of dollars. Why is Ron having all of these results that are positive by simply giving it a supercharge of its natural components? In conjunction with what Ron is doing with natural predators, antagonistic wasps, I believe it is, all the things that Ron is really superior at in this industry, that I'd like him to briefly touch on. We're hitting it from the bottom side, the soil biology side. Ron's hitting it from the top, from the natural predator side. So far, we have no reinfection. Time will tell. But to date, we're on the positive side of all this.
What it means to us to have a stronger grapevine, just for a minute if we can. As a farmer, you want to grow strong, healthy plants, and it's one of our biggest challenges in this industry to keep our vineyards healthy and keep them free of leaf roll virus, of nematode attack, of phylloxera attack, or Pierce's disease, or the many things that hit us. And we put the mycorrhiza to a huge test in planting grapevines, young grapevines that are extremely susceptible to virus, right back into an environment that is conducive for viral infection. And like Bruce said, for 4 years now, we are completely leaf roll virus free. So it's really exciting to us to see that working. We had a vine mealybug infection that was concerning to me because it causes tremendous damage to any crop of grapes. So we signed a compliance agreement with the county and started doing everything the county wanted us to do to control the vine mealybug. So after following the county's compliance agreement for 2 years and not having much success at all, I talked to the ag commissioner about getting a special permission to do some work with biocontrol on the vine mealybug. And he granted me that special permission. We were one of I believe 2 in the state that were granted this permission to do some work without using chemicals and using only insects. And so that first year I threw every insect at the problem that I could find, and we narrowed it down to 2 insects that did a fabulous job on the vine mealybug. And so we've been doing this program for 5 years now, and for the last 2 years we have not sprayed an insecticide on the vineyard at all for the vine mealybug. We've been completely controlling the mealybug with biocontrol and insects with natural predation. Trying to go organic here, we had other diseases that we had to combat to be able to pull that off. Pierce's disease is a major problem that a lot of vineyard growers face. It's a bacterium that is transmitted to the grapevines by the blue-green sharpshooter, or glassy-wing sharpshooter in some areas. We're fortunate not to have that here so far. But the blue-green sharpshooter is an insect that almost everybody was spraying with insecticides to control or eliminating the host plants. It turns out there's over 200 host plants for Pierce's disease and this bacterium. So we thought, well, we need to control the insects, and we need to do it without using insecticides. So we started a program with bluebirds. And this was introduced to me by a gentleman who's been farming organically for many, many years, and said I might give that a try, because I was asking him about what insect I could use to control the sharpshooters, and he suggested to try bluebirds. To my knowledge, it hadn't been done anywhere on this level, and so we started building bluebird houses and started seeing a tremendous reduction in our blue-green sharpshooter populations via our yellow sticky cards that we monitor with for the blue-green sharpshooters. And I started fairly slow, and over the past 4 years we have built over 800 bluebird houses and have dwindled the population of blue-green sharpshooters to almost nothing on the property. So it's been tremendous to have the bluebirds and having a natural control working so well.
Right, exactly. I've been a farmer here all my life in the Napa Valley. Ron has too. We went through, all of the suggestions from universities and big growers, corporate growers. It was a monetary issue, not a quality issue. It wasn't a soil biology issue. It was, getting the most amount of tons per acre. And during that period of time, the soil has been destroyed. The natural habitat's been destroyed. We all know this. It's just, we're now at the point where all the people are starting to realize, and I'm really starting to see it over the last 2 or 3 years, more cover crops, more things that Ron's doing, more increased technologies in the soil biologies that we're using. It's interesting. When you go to the doctor and you think you have something, like cancer, isn't the first thing you get is a blood test? So many of my growers, I say, would you give me your soil reports? I don't mean NPK and minor elements. Do you have a soil biology report? It's $160. Deer in headlights. How can you fix something if you can't measure it? And this is really what I'm trying to get the industry to do. Go in, find out what your soil biology really is. Let's show how we're increasing it in data. We've shown the things that Ron's doing in data accumulation through plant moisture stress, nutrient efficiencies, disease suppression. You can just get the growers to change their modus operandi just a touch and start thinking about these things, about the soils. It will make such an impact in the industry. I mean, $1 billion industry can make huge issues. The phylloxera problem we had for years was $1 billion problem. Phylloxera is, the roots are eaten by critters. If the roots don't have mycorrhizae, they will get infected. It's a secondary infection. It's what infects the plant that makes the plant decline. Mycorrhizal populations in the root systems do not get soil-borne diseases, so they don't get affected by the secondary infection. Had they started using that at some of the universities instead of concentrating on just different types of rootstocks, we may not have had all these problems. Ron, thank you very much for meeting with us and talking about the influence that Genesis has made on your company.
Oh, you're welcome, Bruce. I'm very excited to be working with you, and look forward to many more years of experimentation and success, and happy to be here.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.